Hi, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be talking about coincidences. You may have had a few. Each of us have had a few, and we're going to talk about these seemingly unrelated coincidences. But before we start, I'd like to introduce all our panelists. So, Catherine, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
My name's Catherine Giovanni, and I do a lot of things, to be honest with you. But what I really do is I am very intuitive, and I will talk to you about how your past lives and how your life is influencing your current one.
Great. So we're going to hear about some more coincidences from Catherine in just a few minutes. Paula, tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
Hi, I am an angel messenger. I get messages from spirit, from the angels. It could be something that's going on in your life now, or something in the past, or simply a loved one that wants to pass a message along.
And my name is Katie Knoll. I'm a master trainer in something called emotional freedom technique. And Catherine, Paula, and I together offer a lot of different services. You'll find out about them a little bit later in our presentation. But I thought we'd start with finding out about probably one of our most significant coincidences, and that's how we met our spouse. Paula, why don't you tell your story?
Pretty common, I think, my story is, but it's still a coincidence, and things had to move into place for this to happen. I was working two jobs, and I met my husband at a restaurant where he was also working. He had started 2 weeks before me. We were both trying to make extra money to make ends meet, to further our goals. And we just accidentally bumped into each other one night while working. And the rest was history.
And Catherine, you have a coincidence on how you met your spouse as well.
I do. I was out on Long Island. My mother had just died, so I went to a house to visit some friends on Long Island, and I wasn't looking for a boyfriend. I wasn't looking for anybody. My mother had literally just died. I just wanted to be left alone. And don't you know it, that's the weekend I met my husband, and he just randomly was walking down the beach. Not even kidding. And he said hello to everybody but me, because of course he did, because he knew everybody. And then about the next morning, he showed up at the house I was in, and we shucked corn together, and we've been together 31 years.
And my coincidence is a little more unusual. I was new to the San Diego area, just moving out from the Midwest, and the neighbor had asked me if I wanted to go to a dance. I said, sure, yeah, let's go to a dance. I met the cutest little guy, and he asked me out for a date. Because of health issues, I wasn't able to go on that date. But the next week, the neighbor asked me to go to another dance 30 miles in the opposite direction. And this really cute guy came up to me and asked for an apology. And I said, for what? Because I didn't recognize him. And even though it was a week apart and 30 miles away, we reconnected, and it has been over 50 years, which is a surprise to everybody. So, Catherine, can you tell us about when did you start noticing coincidences happening in your life?
I've noticed it since I was a child, to be honest with you. I've been intuitive since I was a child, but I hid it from everybody because I was bullied and I didn't want them to stuff me in a locker. You know, you want to be just like everybody else. So I just kind of kept it to myself for years. But I actually don't believe in coincidences particularly. I think that things happen for a reason. And I noticed things just magically happening for me over the years. And after a while, you start to pay attention to them when it happens more than once, and it happens again. And then a coincidence saves your life. And then you really pay attention.
Yeah.
Three times. I'm not counting particularly, but there you go.
Paula, tell me, how do you recognize when something is a coincidence, or do you even recognize coincidences in your life?
I think as human beings, we all just think, oh, it's a coincidence. It just happened, oh, I missed that red light, but guess what? There was an accident, at the next red light. Well, was that a coincidence, or were the angels keeping you safe? I've had so many instances where I've been delayed for one reason or another, or just felt like I shouldn't get in the car yet. And I've avoided accidents, I've avoided trauma, not to say all of them, because I've had quite a few accidents in my life. And were they for a reason? I believe so. I believe there's a lesson learned in just about everything. So coincidence or not, I believe they're all teachable lessons.
So if somebody's listening and they're thinking, well, we're talking a lot about coincidences, but really, what is a coincidence? How would either one of you answer that question?
Coincidence is, in my humble opinion, a coincidence is your guardian angel gently pushing you in a direction for various reasons, to save your life, to bring in your husband of 30 or 50 years. A coincidence is making your life go, pushing you down the path you're supposed to be on. And it's just up to us to listen. When I don't listen to the messages, that's when I get into trouble.
Paula, how would you define a coincidence?
I think Catherine nailed it by what she said. And it is so important that when we do listen, we are pushed on the path that we're supposed to be on, unbeknownst to us. And bad things happen to good people. Situations happen in our lives that we say, well, that was supposed to be. Or you've heard a lot of people say, well, when your time's up, it's up. But there are so many answers out there that we are blinded to see. We wear blinders. We are on a path for everyday life, and we think, oh, it's just a coincidence that happens. It really didn't mean anything. Well, yeah, it does. And we believe it does. We believe in more than coincidences. We believe we're being guided, or we're being shown a path or a road to follow. And when we do pay attention, we can see the message behind the situation almost. And we recognize these as angel messages, as a situation in a past life that's been revealed to us that we need to change or work on, or meeting the person we're supposed to meet, or having a relationship with someone in your life. It always doesn't have to be love. It can be a relationship of other reasons, meeting your soul sisters. Certain things happen in our lives that put us on paths to allow other things to happen. To me, that's what coincidence is.
Catherine, there might be people in the audience who are saying, really, there's no such thing as coincidences, because if there was a coincidence, who is really planning them? How would you address that?
You're planning them. Every answer you have, and to everybody listening, every answer you're searching for, you can find inside of yourself. And a coincidence, let me give you an example. I am the least crafty person you will ever meet. I don't have a craft bone in my body. Yet about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to make this wreath. So I went to Michael's thinking, this is easy. I can do this. No, I can't. But I went to Michael's randomly on the middle of a weekday. And who should I run in? My neighbor, who is the most crafty person in our neighborhood back then. So is that a random coincidence, or are my guardian angels standing to the left and right of me, giving me some help?
Are they telling you you really aren't crafty?
No, I'm really not. I can follow directions like a boss, but no, I'm not.
That's a sweet story. Thank you for sharing that. Paula, some people call coincidences, just happenstance, or like deja vu or something. How do you address that?
All of us at one time or another have experienced deja vu. That's just one of those things, and people will just brush it off like, oh, I must have dreamt about this, or I probably just saw this sign a couple weeks ago and didn't notice it until today. We believe there's a lot more to deja vu than just coincidence or deja vu, because as Catherine said, we have life plans. Before we inhabited this body, we've made a conscious decision as our souls to come down and do what we're doing. But we forget that. We forget that all of the things that we had planned on, we have to remember them. So deja vu is a way of us remembering something that we were supposed to do or have done in the past or in a past life, and we've re-experienced it again. Coincidences and deja vu are tricky. They can be the same, they can be different. And as Catherine said, she's not a crafty person, but she went to the store and met someone that was to help her with this project. I was going to go to the recycling center, and for some unknown reason, I kept getting delayed. I kept telling myself, well, I don't think I should leave just yet. And I do one more thing. And I got my keys. I just don't feel like you should get in the car and do this yet. And I did something else. Finally, I'm like, okay, I'm running out of time here. I got to get to the recycling center. Got in my car, and wouldn't you know it, there was a horrible 4-car pileup. I mean, it was just a disaster. And I had gotten there before the police and ambulance. If I would have left on either of those 2 instances, I would have been in that 4-car pileup in that accident. So for me, coincidence that I didn't leave when I did? I don't think so. I was being told, I was being nodded, pushed, prodded, not to leave yet. I knew it was in my best interest just to wait a few more minutes. Now, there was nothing I could do. I'm not a medical person when I got to the accident. So I just had to wait for the proper authorities to arrive, and then I could move around the accident and continue on. But it was a sobering moment for me, because I knew 3 times I started to leave and was stopped dead in my tracks. I'm like, no, not supposed to leave yet. So you tell me, was that a coincidence? Did I get an angel message? Did my guardian angel look out for me? I truly believe I was held back for a reason. It wasn't my time to be in that accident.
When you get a coincidence or a deja vu, pay attention to where you are, what you're thinking. How do you feel? Did you kind of sense it, like an energy sense? Did you hear a whisper of voices in your mind? Did you feel something in your gut? Pay attention, because everybody on the planet is unique. We are born with these gifts. We are not meant to do this gig alone, and everybody can do this. Absolutely everybody on the planet. You just do it differently than everybody else.
So Catherine, Paula told the story about how she felt like she paid attention, this deja vu. Some people may wonder, do only certain people get these messages, or are only certain people blessed to be, you mentioned you were saved, your life was saved 3 times. Does that only happen for those special people, or why does it work for some people and not for everyone?
It happens for all of us. I used to wonder the same thing. I used to wonder, why are the special people only hearing God? And I used to think about it, and I used to think, well, if there is something else out there, how hard would it be for them to have a little conversation with little old me? So I started to pay attention, and that's really all it is. Start to pay attention. And it's nothing special. I mean, I got the urge years ago in 2012 to start running. Everybody who knows me knows I'm allergic to exercise. And if you came to the word E in the dictionary, my name would not be there. But I just had this feeling. It wasn't words. I just had this gut feeling that I had to take up jogging. So I did. Ran a 5K badly, but I ran it. Went from a 14 down to a 6 size. Weight came off too fast. Found stage 3 breast cancer. And I was told that if I hadn't started running, I would be dead. So that story is not unique. We have a friend who narrowly avoided a car accident And at the last minute, she turned the wheel because she felt like she needed to turn the wheel, and she narrowly avoided hitting the median. So these are special, life-saving moments. But, you might also get an urge to just go and have a cup of coffee. It's a matter of paying attention to how you hear your guardian angels. That's all it is. You either hear it, feel it, see it, or you just know it.
So, Paula, how do you know if it's a coincidence or if you just think it's a coincidence? How do you know the difference between, I'm walking into a room and I'm meeting somebody for the second time, but oh yeah, I knew they were coming, so I planned on coming anyway. So it really wasn't a coincidence. It was me doing the planning. How do you tell the difference between whether the coincidence was the universe, if you will, making that happen, or if it was intentional on my part?
Because we listen, we pay attention. And as Catherine said, I mean, all of us have the ability to get messages or hear messages or feel it in your gut. We all have intuition. At an early age, when I was a little girl, I can remember talking to someone. I always had someone to talk to. There wasn't anyone there, but I could have a conversation about really important, deep things. Things that were happening in my life that I didn't have control over, but there was someone that I could talk to, and that person listened and talked back. Well, you say, well, is she crazy? It's okay to talk to yourself, but when you answer yourself, but it wasn't me answering myself, someone was answering to me. So when it comes to coincidences, it's like that in a similar way, because we laugh about saying it is what it is, but we know that coincidences happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we might try to wiggle our way out of it or say, I planned that, or it's just because. But when you really sit and think about how many millions of people, billions of people there are in this world, is it a coincidence that two people meet for the second time and fall in love and get married? Is it a coincidence that Catherine happened to be walking on the beach thinking about her mother when Ron walked past and did talk to her? And because he didn't, he got her attention. So that when he did talk to her the next day, a conversation started. Is it a coincidence that certain people barely miss an accident or wake up when they're driving? They're sound asleep driving at the wheel, and something wakes them up and startles them, and they're like, well, I have no idea what happened. Was that a coincidence? Who woke that person up? So we do have guides. We do have angels that watch over us. We do have intuition.
Mm-hmm.
We just get so busy in our everyday lives that we don't take time to listen. We don't take time to think about how that event actually transpired.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about coincidences, but first we're going to tell the audience a little bit about something exciting that the three of us have planned called an awareness mastermind. It is for those of you who may be curious about coincidences. It may be for those of you who have accepted the idea of coincidences, notice them, and are listening to them and want to know more. And it may be for those of you who've been doing your intuition all your life and felt like you were, as Catherine says, a lone wolf. Catherine, you want to talk a little bit more about the mastermind?
My pleasure. As we've all said, everybody on the planet is intuitive. It's not just the three of us. Everybody is. But some people, as Paula said, are more awake than other people. But you've all kind of looked at the world and thought, there's got to be something else here. There's got to be more than what we've been taught. Too many weird things have been happening to me. I've been getting these weird coincidences, and I just don't feel like I'm in the right job or the right marriage, or I just don't feel like I'm in the right city. That's your intuition. That means you're starting to wake up. There's a lot more to the world than what you've been taught. And some people are just curious, and we have a group for those people. If you're one of those people who think this is hoodoo voodoo, but this is kind of interesting, I'd like to hear more, we have a group for you. If you're kind of in the middle and you figured out that you're intuitive and you figured out, I don't like to use the word psychic. You'll notice none of us have used the word psychic. We prefer intuitive because everybody's intuitive. So you figured out a few things. Well, we have a group for you too. If you've been doing it, you've been doing this for a long time, you could join the third group. If you were like me and hid your intuition for years and years and years, and I used to give people readings, but nobody ever knew I was doing it because I'd say things like, have you ever thought of ... You know what you really should do ... And I was giving them the messages, but I was flipping the language so they wouldn't know I was doing it until I met Dr. Katie Null, who was also intuitive and told me to stop. She knew exactly what I was doing. So if you have come out of the closet and you would like to explore more, we also have a group for you. You don't have to go through you don't have to go through life as a lone wolf. You can join us other lone wolves. We'll have a little pack.
Yeah. Paula, the mastermind, what's going to happen in the mastermind? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, we have 3 different groups that you can sign up for if you'd like. And as Catherine stated, there's 3 different levels depending on how comfortable you are, how far you want to go, how much you think you know or want to know more. One of these groups are surely going to fit you. And what we're going to do in the mastermind is to allow you to meet other people like you along the same levels. If you're a curious bug and just want to get started, want to know more about coincidences, that's the first group you might want to join. But as I said, we have different levels. So depending upon what you want to accomplish, we have it for you. You can meet other people just like yourselves on a weekly basis. You can share emails, talk, meet as many people or as few as you want, whatever you're comfortable with. And you'll also have time with us as well. So we'll guide you through this process. And all you have to do is sign up and we'll get all the information to you as soon as you're, are curious enough or want more.
I really like the way that we have set up the mastermind so that people are going to be able to be partnered one-on-one with a different member of the group, and that they can meet as frequently as they want or as little as they want. And every month they would get matched up with another member so that by the end of the 5 months, they would have time with each person in their group. And in addition, there'll be monthly presentations that Catherine, Paula, and I will give to add to that, as well as weekly emails that should be topics of conversation, something that maybe you have or have not thought about that can prompt your discussions with your monthly partner. So we're real excited about it, and you can contact us to find out details. We'd love for you to join. So let's get back and talk about some more coincidences. What about some stories that we've talked about? The coincidences are good, how we've met our partners. And both Paula and Catherine have talked about things that don't seem to be good, but turned out to be good for us individually. What about stories of things where we don't know if it was good or bad? What about coincidences that just happen and we don't know what the outcome is?
I think you have to just have faith, and to use an expression that I've personally heard many times over the last year, you have to stay the course. And by what I mean by that is, I don't think we're meant to know everything, and you might be in the right place at the right time, and you say the absolute right thing to somebody, and they'll go off into their life and be brilliant. You'll never know what happened. You just have to have faith in yourself that you were Johnny Appleseed and you planted the right seeds.
Paula, how would you address that? That something good or something bad happened, but you're not quite sure what to do with it, or you can't see any benefit for anybody.
A quick little story, and it leads into coincidence somewhat, but it also leads into, was it good or was it bad? Our friend Catherine has just written a book on forgiveness, which we'll all talk about later, and that's something to look forward to. But by coincidence, we decided to sell a vehicle, a truck. It was given to my son by my husband. When he passed, my son took over the truck, and we decided to sell this truck and get him something newer, more updated. The person that bought the truck came to get it all the way from Missouri. They traveled all the way to North Carolina to get this truck. I mean, we could have sold it on the street, but for whatever reason, this person in Missouri came to buy the truck. So it was by way of someone knowing someone, blah, blah, blah. Coincidence or not, people arrived at my house to buy this truck. He brought with him his girlfriend. And I was not, I didn't know her, never really met her, and they showed up. But topic of conversation, Paula being who she is, got an angel message for her, and it was all about forgiveness. Now, was this a coincidence that my friend Catherine's writing a book on forgiveness, and this woman shows up in desperate need of information regarding forgiveness? And if she's the girlfriend of the person that's buying this truck, I mean, in what world would all of this have to happen for the message, for me to be able to give her an angel message about forgiveness? Now, friends, you can say, oh, that was just coincidence. It wasn't. She was brought to me at this time in this place to receive a message about forgiveness. And one of the first people I'm mailing Catherine's book to will be her. Because if anyone needs it, that woman does. But she was brought into my life by a coincidence, by selling a truck. So was it a coincidence, or was it the universe's way? Was it God's way? Was it the way the angels wanted this woman to receive information? And I've had some humdingers, let me tell you. I've had to give some whoppers of messages to people that I have no idea who they were. And I just literally bumped into them and had to give them a message. I didn't have a choice. It had to come out. They had to receive it. I couldn't go home until I did. And that's when you know it's more than coincidence.
Mm.
And might I add that Paula does not live anywhere near Missouri. She lives in North Carolina. So think about the distance these people had to travel.
To find that out.
So again, coincidence. I mean, some people say coincidence are like Hallmark movies. All of us have watched a Hallmark movie. We've seen how this has to happen for this to happen. At the right time, somebody in town makes sure that somebody orders bagels from the bakery so this person can pick them up so that these two people can meet. I mean, my goodness gracious, if that's not the perfect analogy for coincidences and how life works. And life can be a Hallmark movie. It can also be a Stephen King novel, It can go either way, folks, but it's still, things happen.
Yeah.
Paula, I don't have 2 dimes to scrape together, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I've tried to listen, and I can't meditate because I just keep hearing so many voices, and I've got all these negative people around me, and I'm trying to move, but I can't do it. What would you say to them?
Take a deep breath, calm down, and start over.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you join the mastermind, you're going to meet people just like you. And you'll be able to voice all of those concerns and frustrations. And you'll know there are other people just like you that have to start somewhere. And you'll be able to work through it all. We will do our best to help you get from A to Z.
And the money will flow. I know a lot of you friends out there probably don't have 2 dimes to scrape together and take it from somebody who's had a very strange relationship with money all of her life. It will flow. If you get the inside right and you start to pay attention and you stay that really hard course, everything will flow for you. And you'll learn that at the mastermind.
And of course, I would suggest that tapping may help.
Katie, tell us about tapping.
So tapping is a brain-based somatic method that we, all three of us, use. I started using it to be able to help college students pass their math and tests. And using it for college students, I found that it had so many more uses, and I've now worked with clients all over the world to help them dissolve their waffles, their worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, and stress. It's an easy, non-invasive, non-addictive method to unclog those stuck emotions and allow things like money to flow. Working within the mastermind, you will have people who are going to hold you accountable, who are going to remind you that the words you say affect your whole life, who are going to help you move forward in whichever direction you want. Tapping is very much a part of it when we offer a service called the Power of Three. In the Power of Three, it's a 1-hour session conducted over Zoom, where Catherine kindly reveals at least one, frequently 3 past lives. Paula supports by sharing angel messages to comfort you as you go through this. And then we end up with tapping based on the lesson that you were to have learned in your past lives that you have been brought back to learn. And all of that sounds very, what's the word I'm looking for, Catherine?
Hoodoo voodoo-y?
Hoodoo voodoo-y. But a lot of this is based on science.
Yep.
Personally, I'm a mathematician. Paula has been somebody who's worked in professional offices for years, and Catherine has had her own business for decades. So we're not that voodoo hoodoo that you might think, but we have found what has been effective. And one of the most effective things we found is the power of forgiveness. And we're very excited and pleased to join our soul sister, Catherine, as she has introduced her new book. Catherine, can you tell us a little bit more about your book?
We're all taught since we're a kid that we have to apologize. Say you're sorry. You're 2 years old and you hit set, say you're sorry. So you say you're sorry, you don't really mean it. And then you get older and you've got the ministers and the priests and the pastors and all these people who are saying, well, you have to forgive. It's going to lighten you up. And you're thinking, I don't want to forgive them, but you got to forgive. Okay, so you just say the words. And then maybe you might mean it with 1 or 2 people. But those 1 or 2 people have a nasty habit of not staying forgiven. So you look at somebody and they say you have to forgive, and part of you is saying, I don't want to, and the other part of you is saying, well, I already did. Oh, yes, you did. But forgiveness, friends, is like an onion, and there are many layers to that onion. And one of the things that you may have not forgiven is you didn't forgive the energy around the situation. So if you forgive the energy around the situation, then people might be able to stay forgiven more. And I'll talk to you more about energy and what that means in my book that's coming out in another month.
Well, the nice thing I like about Catherine's book is, just as she has said, we've all been told to forgive. And so you think you're supposed to say the statement, okay, I forgive you. But she actually has step by step processes that is going to help you truly and completely forgive. And it's those individual steps, Catherine, that I really appreciate it.
And there's one more thing. I can feel there's a couple people out there who have something that's unforgivable. And I can actually feel it right now. And I'm looking at you, whoever you are, you're listening to us saying, I'm not going to forgive that person. No, you're not. Some acts are 100% unforgivable. And I'm going to tell you something that nobody else will tell you. You don't have to. You absolutely 100% don't have to. In the book, we've got easy, medium, and hard. The easy ones are the people from grammar school. You can easily, you can forgive those. The medium ones, it might take some mental gymnastics to do it, but eventually you can. But then you get the hard ones, and you don't have to. All you have to do is forgive yourself, the energy around yourself, and keep going. Maybe circle back. Some people can, some people can't. If you can't circle back, that's fine, but forgive yourself, forgive the energy around you, and keep going. You don't have to forgive the unforgivable if you don't want to.
Paula, what have you found the value of the forgiveness book?
It's immeasurable. The book is a gem. As I've told Catherine, I was lucky enough to get to read it as soon as she finished the first official draft. And I was so impressed with the information that's in that book and how it's going to change so many lives. We all have experienced trauma. All of us have had something terrible at one time or another happen to us. None of us have grown up in these perfect glass bubbles. You may have had a really good life and a good set of parents and a good upbringing, but something somewhere in either your professional, your personal, whatever, something has happened that you need to address, that you're holding on to all this negative information, negative emotions that you need to forgive and move on and move forward. And that's something that the forgiveness book can do. It's something that EFT tapping can handle. I know I can personally attest to both because I've used both, and it's made a huge, huge difference in my life. And even if you learn one little gem, one little tidbit of information from what we have to offer, then to me, it's a win. It's not, if you learn one thing, then the time and effort that you put into this is well worth it. You just have to make the first step.
So we want to let the audience know that there will be more videos coming, and we're looking forward to sharing so many more stories with you. We do want to end up with a little story that I love about a farmer who won a new horse. And when he received the new horse, his neighbors came to him and said, "You're so lucky. This is such a great gift that you received this new horse. How lucky are you?" And he said, neither good nor bad. It just is. Well, the next day, the horse ran away. Neighbors came around and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. The horse broke loose, ran away. This is going to be awful. This is horrible." And the farmer said, "Neither good nor bad. It just is." So the next day, the horse returned with a new horse, bringing a partner horse with it back home. And the neighbors came around and said, "How good is this? This is fabulous. Now you have 2 new horses. This is great news for you." And he said, "Neither good nor bad. It just is." Well, the following day, his son, his adult son, was riding the horse, fell off, and broke his leg. The neighbors came around, was so worried, and said, "Oh, we're so sorry. This is so upsetting. Your son broke his leg. How awful is this?" And the farmer said, "Neither good nor bad. It just is." Well, the next day, the king came by and was rounding up all the young men of the farmer's son's age to go to war. But his son had a broken leg and could not go to war. Neighbors came around and said, "How wonderful for you that your son is able to stay home." And he said, "Neither good nor bad. It just is." We're hoping this short presentation that we've made today encourages you to notice, recognize, and start to watch for coincidences. And before we leave, I'd like to ask both Catherine and Paula for any last words to share with our audience. Catherine?
You got this. Anger is toxic. And if you need to forgive people, you got this. You can do it. Start with the easy ones. But you've got this. And if you've resonated with anything that we've said today, check out the website, check out the mastermind, or just go to Facebook and talk to us. We're here for you.
And I agree with Catherine. We are here for you. We heard horror stories upon horror stories. There are lots of things that we have been able to help people with. And all it takes is just reaching out to us and letting us know what you need. And we'll do our best to try to address those needs for you. We are here for you. We truly do care. We want what's best for you. There's so much going on in our world right now, so much turmoil, so much bad stuff. Sometimes it's just good to be happy and to connect with other people that are happy too. And just realize there's more to life than just getting up and going to bed every day. There's more out there.
We,
One more thing.
I saw,
Sorry, getting messages as we speak. I'm being told to tell you all that the door is open. You just have to walk through it.
nice. So for those who are interested, please go to guidedtalk.com. That's guidedtalk.com. And there you'll find information about what we call the Power of Three, if you'd like to have a 1-hour session with us. And it's also an opportunity to join the mastermind. We look forward to seeing you and seeing how we can help you notice, recognize, and encourage coincidences in your life. So we'll see you later. Bye. Thanks.
Thanks for your time.